Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to What Was the Earth Like After Dinosaurs by a channel called Cosmo. I'm pretty frustrated. I tried doing a reaction to this channel 2 seconds ago, and I was like 18 minutes into the video, and I realised I wasn't recording. I'll just show what video it was. This one. It's a shame. I'm so frustrated, man. It was a good video, but yeah. I can't just now post it because I wasn't recording, so I've just had to pick another one to do. And this is what the Earth was like after dinosaurs. So, I mean, it's still going to be an interesting one. And I guess this is kind of leading on from what I was seeing in this previous video. Even if this video is actually older. But yeah, hopefully you're going to enjoy. I'm sorry if, on the off chance, maybe you wanted me to react to that or whatever. But yeah, we're going to check this out. Links are in the description to my Instagram, my Twitter for those who want to follow me. Same for my Patreon. Links are there. But let's just jump into this. Let's check this one out. And I mean, yeah, I'm just frustrated, man. Let's just jump into it. I want to try and forgetting to press record.
Roughly 66 million years ago, our planet went through one of the most large-scale extinction events in the history of multicellular life forms. Entire classes of species were wiped off the face of the Earth. Others changed beyond all recognition in order to adapt to the new conditions and survive. The reasons for this dramatic event are still not known for certain. Still, there is no doubt that the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction made great changes to what our planet looked like. The majestic and horrifying dinosaurs were superseded by creatures not less impressive. Mammals.
Yeah, because like, obviously you talk about evolution and stuff, like how we're constantly evolving, and with terms of evolution you always think it's getting better and better, but I guess with this, we're like taken so further back in terms of the evolution for these animals and stuff because dinosaurs were wiped out and so many other species were wiped out. So I guess we had to sort of rebuild. I wonder where we are now in terms of like evolution on the scale of like how advanced we are. I guess in terms of humans we're advanced, but in terms of like mammals or whatever, like how far are we actually along the line? Are we still behind where we once were, or are we like ahead? I wonder. Like maybe there's a scale. Maybe it'll go into this in this video, but if not, maybe there's a video out there that I can see. And I mean, if there is, let me know about that, because it could be interesting.
Three-fourths of all living organisms on Earth died out in the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction. Almost all creatures heavier than 25 kilos ceased to be, including practically all non-avian dinosaurs. This tragic event heralded the end of the Mesozoic and the beginning of the Cenozoic, the geologic era that is still not over. It is divided into 3 periods of various duration, which are different both in terms of climate and diversity.
I wonder who names these eras as well.
Biosphere. The first and longest is known as the Paleogene. It began around 66 million years ago and continued for 43 million years. In the first 10 million years of the Paleogene, the Earth's biosphere was recovering from the hard blow dealt by the mass extinction. This geological epoch is referred to as the Paleocene. Since great numbers of dinosaurs and other species of the Cretaceous had perished, there were lots of vacant ecological niches for the taking. These were promptly filled by the new masters of our planet, mammals.
Come on, you
The
rats.
geography of the Earth of
once getting treated like they're nothing, getting eaten by these dinosaurs. Now who's on top? We're on top. These little flipping rodents.
period was drastically different from what we're used to seeing today. Looking at a map of that prehistoric Earth, we would already be able to make out the familiar continents, but they were positioned slightly differently. Thus, North and South Americas were separated by tropical seas, while the Indian subcontinent was just starting to make for the Asian shores. The prehistoric ocean, known as the Tethys, still lay between Africa and Eurasia, but was already largely giving way due to the movements of tectonic plates. The climate of the epoch was warmer and more stable than today's. Most of the planet was covered with dense and lush tropical forests. The overwhelming majority of the living creatures of the day were quite small. Thanks to the abundance of vegetable food, they quickly propagated and spread across more and more new areas. This is when the prehistoric ancestors of most of today's mammals thrived. For example, the warm forests of the Paleogene were inhabited by miacids, small and deft predators that looked like martens. It is believed that they were the progenitors of all today's rich diversity of mammal predators.
What?
At around the same time.
Bro, that's crazy, man. Evolution is mental. And also, this is probably going to sound like a really stupid question. How would animals like tigers and lions sort of, and maybe like, were hippos a thing? In this period, I don't think they were. And like hippos and stuff, I guess. How would they have dealt with how the world was when the dinosaurs were around? In the Mesozoic and all those eras. Or eras isn't the right word. In those, you know what I'm trying to say. In those parts of the earth and times on the earth, how would they have dealt? Would they have just been absolutely destroyed? They would have been like the bottom of the food chain. Or would they have actually been able to do quite well? I don't know. I guess it's a really stupid question. But I'm assuming they would have been right at the bottom of the food chain. And, well, not right at the bottom, but they'd be in the middle or a bit lower because the dinosaurs would have just dominated. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably a really stupid question.
For today's rich diversity of mammal predators.
From that
At around the same time, there lived Archaeoceans, the prehistoric ancestors of today's whales. At the time, however, they looked more like hippos. They hadn't gone to live in the sea yet, but had made their first steps in that direction.
It's like a pig.
Their limbs, respiratory organs and the inner ear had already started to adapt to prolonged stays underwater. The next epoch our planet went through was the Eocene. It began approximately 56 million years ago and continued for slightly over 22 million years. The contours of the continents had already grown to be quite recognizable. India had finally made it to the southern shores of Asia, and as a result of the collision of tectonic plates, giant rock folds formed. That is how the Himalayas rose, the largest mountain range on our planet today. Even though some species of that time already looked like some we might come across today, others were completely different. An example of one of these is Andrewsarchus, one of the largest mammal predators that has ever lived on the Earth. Its skull measured up to 84 centimeters, which is roughly 1.5 times more than that of the brown bear, and its bite is estimated to have been harder than that of any of today's land predators.
It's like a big hyena. It said its bite was stronger than a bear.
Than that of the brown bear, 84 centimeters, which is roughly 1.5 times more than that of the brown bear, and its bite is estimated to have been harder than that of any of today's land predators.
What the fuck?
It has been inferred from the deep tooth sockets in Andrewsarchus's skull, where mandible muscles were attached to, which leaves no doubts as to the bite's crushing force. Reconstruction of its skeleton shows that the animal could measure over 4 meters in length and weigh as much as a ton. Still, interestingly, it looks like this giant carnivore fell into the class of primitive ungulates. Research showed that Andrewsarchus's closest relatives were the prehistoric suiforms, hippopotamids and cetaceans. Studies of a few unearthed fossils of its skull and teeth show that the animal must have been omnivorous and even didn't mind eating carrion. Unfortunately, not many bones and fossils of this fascinating creature have been found, and scientists are still at odds as to the structure of its organism, habits, and relation to other mammal families. The Oligocene was the last epoch of the Paleogene. It is posited that it began around 33.9 million years ago and was over about 23 million years ago, which makes it roughly 11 million years long. This was a time of global cooling. The warm tropical forests were gradually superseded by endless prairies covered with grasslands.
Wow.
This is when the Antarctic glaciation began, and an icy shield transformed the green continent to the pole into a lifeless, cold desert. Australia continued.
I wonder what Antarctica was like in terms of like the life that was there, and like was there like jungles and stuff and all this kind of like just all these kinds of things, bro. I can't even imagine because obviously it's huge. It's so big. Fuck me, I wonder, man. I wonder what. Obviously, he's saying what things were there and stuff, but I wonder actually, like, truly, what it would have been like.
To drift away from the other continents, while Africa, on the contrary, was making for the north to meet Europe. After a collision of tectonic plates, mountain ranges formed, and that is how the Alps made their appearance on the map of the world.
Wow.
Around 26-28 million years ago, the supervolcano La Garita furiously erupted on the territory of today's Colorado. In fact, it was one of the major volcanic emissions of the entire Phanerozoic eon, An area of over 30,000 square meters was buried under a layer of hot ash as much as 100 meters thick. All life within a huge radius around the volcano was destroyed completely.
God, that's a monster.
Amazingly, life is able to come to terms with any disasters. The Earth of the time was inhabited by fascinating creatures, some of which were not smaller than dinosaurs in size. For example, Oligocene, a prehistoric herbivore related to rhinos. Paraceratherium, the largest of these.
Bro, this looks like a flipping... Oh, what are those dogs called? Those with the really long faces. God, what's the breed? I'm sorry, I got long-faced dog. I'm sure it's going to pop up. Yes, this one. What is this dog called? Is it? Oh, is it an English Bull Terrier? Bro, what? Why does it look like this? Wait. Is it a Bull Terrier? Yeah. Bro. Tell me this doesn't look like this. What the... Bro, this is evolved from this. God damn, it's crazy. It's crazy out here. What the fuck? Tell me you don't see that. And where the hell is the eyes in this thing?
Oligocene, a prehistoric herbivore related to rhinos. Paraceratherium, the largest of these, reached 4.8 meters in shoulder length, which is higher than a large African elephant. Thanks to their remarkably long neck, these giants were able to raise their head up to 7 meters above the ground. Today's rhino would be able to pass under its enormous progenitor's belly, while a human would hardly reach up to touch its knee. With their mass reaching 20 tons, these giants were the largest land mammals of all times. Even Brontosaurus, the most massive of land dinosaurs, weighed just around 15 tons. It still hasn't been established for certain what Oligocene looked like. Unfortunately, not one entire skeleton of these amazing animals has been excavated so far, only separate fragments from different animals of the species. Most scientists agree that in spite of their relation to rhinos, Oligocene didn't have a massive horn, although it may well have had a small nose trunk, like today's tapirs.
Imagine rhinos.
The trunk would have allowed it to pick juicy leaves off treetops. These giant herbivores must have lived in small herds and were constantly on the move around vast stretches of land, roaming across their dominions in search of food. Unfortunately, by the end of the Oligocene, Oligocene had died out completely. At around the same time, the areas they used to inhabit were explored by prehistoric elephants alongside large predators, hyenodons and amphicyonids. The latter are also known as bear dogs. It is thought that the emergence of new large herbivores would have greatly upset nature's balance, and Oligocene would have been forced to fiercely compete for its food. Famine and the threat from the new dwellers of the Asian prairie gradually led to the herbivore's giants' total extinction.
Wow.
Apart from those mentioned, there were some other large predators who were quite common on the Earth in the period from 37.2 to 28.4 million years ago. Entelodons. Fossilized remains of these creatures have been found all over Eurasia. Being even-toed ungulates, entelodons resembled wild boars, although in terms of evolution, these creatures are closer to hippos or even cetaceans. Measuring up to 2 meters in length, they weighed over a ton. A meter-long head had huge jaws complete with all sorts of teeth, sharp incisors, long fangs and wide flat molars. It is likely that entelodons were omnivores with a preference for predation. Not hampered by their impressive size and bulk, they were able to develop remarkably high speeds, so chances of outrunning such a monster were quite thin. A wild boar the size of a large bull that prefers meat posed a serious threat to any inhabitant of the Earth of that time. That is why it is hardly surprising that entelodons successfully struggled for their survival for such a considerable time. The period in the history of our Earth that came next was the Neogene. It began
Quick question, I wonder when the saber-toothed tigers came. I've been thinking about this. I don't even know how you spell it. Okay, don't laugh at me. Oh, that's absolutely terrible spelling. I don't want to talk about it. I just remember these from Ice Age, and I don't actually know what period the Ice Age I'm talking about was in. I hope he'll touch upon it unless it's too soon, but...
Approximately 23 million years ago and ended just 2,580,000 years ago. This is when our planet started to look almost, but not quite, what it looks like today. The continents shifted to their today's positions on the planet's surface, and the looks of most of the plants and animals of the day grew to be familiar to our eye. With the Earth's climate gradually becoming colder, and with droughts occurring more often, polar caps were gradually growing, which culminated in a global glaciation at the end of the Neogene. The planet, meanwhile, was crawling with all sorts of fascinating creatures.
Is this the UK?
The deep-sea dwellers were terrorized by Megalodon, a giant shark measuring 15 meters in length and weighing up to 35 tons. On land, various Gomphotherians could be
Such a
seen,
cute
creatures related to today's elephants. Many of them were the proud owners of 4 solid tusks. As for the animal's size, some were larger than today's African elephant, whereas others were quite modest in comparison. Around 2.5 million years ago, there started the Quaternary, which is currently the last geologic period in the history of the Earth. It is remarkable for the emergence and evolution of Homo sapiens, as well as its prehistoric ancestors. For example, in the period from 1 million years ago to 100,000 years ago, there lived Gigantopithecus, one of the species of great human-like apes known to science. They measured 3 to 4 meters in height and weighed over 500 kilograms. These creatures lived on the territory of Asia and were related to today's orangutans. It appears that Gigantopithecus would not be able to climb trees like other human-like apes on account of its mass. However, some of them are known to have dwelt in mountainous areas and made homes in natural grottos, caves and ravines. Even though their diet is believed to have consisted of mainly bamboo, bones of herbivorous animals with tooth marks were unearthed in their shelters. Judging by these finds, it is safe to assume that these creatures didn't mind meat and were omnivorous at the very least. The Gigantopithecus' skeleton is similar to that of a gorilla, so they were likely to use all 4 limbs to move around. Besides, these human-like apes had a comparatively large brain, which means that they could be relatively intelligent, and were probably able to even make primitive working tools. Unfortunately,
no way.
The population of...
See, that blows my mind, obviously. Like, animals are a lot smarter than we realise, and some probably in the past are a lot smarter than we realise, because these obviously are quite similar to us in the grand scheme of things. But the idea of, like, why associate to just being a monkey, being able to, like, make tools and stuff sounds crazy. Like, I can just imagine watching a gorilla just making a sharp tool to then use to cut like a banana open or something. Like, it just makes my brain fry. But again, I can't really see like how that couldn't be the case, because that's what evolved into us at the end of the day. But it's just it's a crazy thought to me.
These amazing giants sharply dropped when the prehistoric ancestors of today's human emerged and spread across the planet. By around 1 to 300,000 years ago, they had died out completely. Sadly, not many remains of Gigantopithecus have been found, which greatly impedes studying them.
Imagine they were still around. We could possibly communicate in some way. That would be insane. That would be insane. Oh my days, man.
As they were spreading across the earth, primitive human tribes eliminated many other creatures. One of their victims was Megatherium, a giant ground human tribes came to South America. The powerful but sluggish giant was helpless under a barrage of sharp spears and arrows, and very soon its population dropped to 0. Other giants who supposedly became extinct because of humans were Diprotodons, which inhabited Australia in the period from 1.6 million years ago to around 40,000 years ago. These creatures were the largest known marsupials, and they were related to wombats and koalas. Some of these amazing...
How did wombats turn into these lazy... Oh, not wombats, but koalas turn into these... Wait, koalas are the really lazy ones now. I'm thinking of sloths. But like, how did these big-ass fucking bear-looking things turn into, like, wombats and koalas?
Animals reached as much as 3 meters in length and 2 meters in shoulder height. As for their mass, they weighed approximately 3 tons. This makes Diprotodons quite as big as some hippos.
Jeez.
Massive and herbivorous, they dwelt on massive woodland and coastal grass-covered plains that abounded in Australia before humans had made their appearance there. Chronologically, the extinction of the marsupial giants coincides with first human tribes arriving to this continent. Still, some scientists maintain that the extinction was caused not by hunting, but an anomaly of the Earth's magnetic field together with a local temperature decrease. The heightened radiation background, coupled with cooling, slowed down plant growth, which led to famine among the herbivores.
Oh, wow.
Thus it appears that by and large the tragedy was inevitable, and the humans simply brought it to a close faster. The last epoch of the Quaternary, the Holocene, heralded a robust development of the human civilization, when Homo sapiens spread across the entire planet and dominated all the other inhabitants of our Earth. The downside of this evolution is manifested in a number of industrial disasters and irreversible changes in nature's balance. For example, it is due to human activity that the greenhouse gases concentration in the Earth's atmosphere is getting worse every year. This may globally negatively affect all living things on our Earth, from simplest bacteria to elaborate multicellular organisms. Unfortunately, the number of fascinating creatures living on our Earth is going down every year. It is particularly poignant to realize that they perish because of human stupidity or avarice. Uncontrolled hunting, irresponsible land development and indifference to the environment have already made scientists speak of a new, sixth great extinction event, whose consequences are potentially just as grave as those of the previous 5. Will mankind stop before it eliminates itself? How long should it take our planet to recover from the consequences of the technological progress? And will nature produce radically new life forms that would weather this crisis, just like it happened before? We can hardly realistically answer these questions. Have a chat with your friends about this if you feel strongly about the issues raised here, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video.
I definitely did.
As you know, it takes us a lot of time and effort to make every video interesting and informative.
Now this was a good video, I can't lie. This got me really into it and interested by it, man. This was an absolutely incredible watch. I don't know how I've only just found this video, but mate, shout out to the camera guy, he's been through it all. But like, man, like, I don't know, do like scientists or whatever, because obviously they're the ones who name these eras and these periods and stuff. Do they already know the name of the next period and the next eras and stuff that we're going to be into? Like, I guess maybe that's something they already know, but I don't actually know, like, because after the humans are gone, who's going to track this? Who's going to be like, oh, these were what the periods are? It's just not going to be a thing. It's just, yeah, it's wild, man. It is wild to me, but I love these kinds of videos because they just make you think about everything. Man, just imagine how beautiful the Earth must have looked like back then. No streets or buildings, just nature. I would kill to get a single view of that time. When I was a kid, I remember thinking it would be cool to become an archaeologist. It might have been the first thing I ever really thought about becoming. This video just reminded me of that. Yeah, it must be an insane job, man. I can't imagine the absolute terror these animals must have went through during the cataclysm. The idea of all that terror and absolutely nowhere to go manages to give me shivers. Yeah, like they must have been so unaware of everything. But at the same time, this is an extinction. Like we're in like a mass extinction now. It's just a different sort of way of it happening. So I guess animals in their own ways are scared as they would have been back then. I don't know. Obviously, you can't really judge how scared an animal is and stuff, but it's just in a different way. Like he said at the end, like, and I guess at the end of the day, could humans cause, I don't know if we've got the power for that, and I hope we don't. Could humans cause, like when I say a mass extinction, I mean like complete extinction of life, or life again always find a way? Because we're making these new things, like whether it's like the ways to use energy or forms of energy, like, or nuclear, whatever, nuclear energy, nuclear weapons and stuff, all this kind of stuff. Is that possibly what could actually end life? Like, I don't know, obviously, but I guess again, life will just always somehow find a way to come back, and once we're gone, we'll make a new formation of anything, of animals and all this kind of stuff. Man, I love these videos. They're so fun to watch. If you want more of this stuff, please let me know, because I've not done much of these sorts of reactions in a long time, and I'm definitely down to do so. But I mean, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see about that in the future. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.